Everybody experiences events in their life that may cause stress, anxiety, fears. It's how your brain reacts to those events that may cause you to go on and develop post-traumatic stress disorder. Or you might hear me call it PTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a mental illness that develops after you experience a traumatic event. Some of those events might be natural disasters, events like 9/11, mental, sexual, or physical abuse, war. In the 60s and 70s, the Vietnam War occurred. There were soldiers coming home from Vietnam who really had no idea what was going on in their mind. They called it soldier's heart, battle fatigue, shell shock. There was no formal name for PTSD. So these soldiers really didn't get the help that they needed whenever they did come home. There wasn't a formal diagnosis until 1980. So a little while after they came home, they tried to figure out what was going on. They finally had a name, and they called it post-traumatic stress disorder. Symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder may be anxiety, extreme anger, fearfulness, flashbacks, nightmares. All these things can occur, and it's all beyond their control. They live in false reality. They might be scared of things or stressed about things that you and I might seem as it might be simple for us. You might not want to bring someone with PTSD to a place where there's a huge crowd. It might trigger flashbacks. It might make them feel a bit uneasy. Also, loud noises. Loud noises can really trigger someone into having a flashback, or maybe it just might remind them of a bit. Smells, sounds, anything, even the smell of the rain can remind you of whatever traumatic event you had gone through. Car wrecks, anything. Even getting into a car after a car wreck might make you feel stressed out. Let's see what some of the other symptoms are.
What are the symptoms of PTSD?
PTSD symptoms fall very broadly in many categories. The first I'll talk to you about is being hypervigilant, really hyper around, having a really big strong reflex, jumping easily, jumping at noises, especially noises that are similar to or reminiscent of what happened in that traumatic event. Several series. Another is intrusive symptoms, and intrusive symptoms include what people commonly know as flashbacks. And with flashbacks, most people think of it as just visual, but it's not. When you think of whatever movie you're in now, there's so much sensory information going on. There's what you see, it's what you hear, it's what you feel, there's the position of your body. All of that and more gets stored into stuff that was around when all the stuff happened. Any of those things can trigger a flashback on any of those levels. So someone can start feeling what they felt if they hear a sound that's similar, even though it may not quite be like what happened. And what happened, it can still trigger all of the upset and all of the feelings. So flashbacks can be very, very, very low. So that intrusiveness can be very, very low. But it also very much includes nightmares and distorted sleep. And another one is avoidance, because who wants to be mindful? And the avoidance could be people that are associated with them, people that try to assist, or people that would remind them of it even if they had nothing to do with the actual event. It could be wanting to avoid triggers. So if someone was, for instance, assaulted in a dark alley by someone of a particular ethnic origin, then they might want to avoid everybody of that origin, or not want to go out at that time of day, or feel really uneasy at that time of day, wherever they are, even if you're in a place that is there's these symptoms are all geared around protecting the system from all things coming in. So it's a very, very self-protective mechanism that is very safe. And it's really important to understand that these are really quality strategies that the body is wired into doing. It's a very normal thing.
So it's very important that she said, if you guys could hear, that it's a very normal reaction. It's normal to react this way after something has occurred that you have no control of, that has caused fear, that has caused anxiety. It's a normal reaction. You know, you may feel symptoms immediately after the traumatic event, or even months after. Whenever you start to feel symptoms of PTSD, it is important to get treatment. Although there is no cure for PTSD, there is treatment and there is things you can do to help cope with the symptoms. That's it. Medication. Medications such as Xanax, Klonopin, Visceral, any kind of antidepressants, anything to help keep them on an even kill instead of freaking out or suffering from the flashbacks, stuff to help you sleep, to stop the nightmares. It is important to have cognitive behavioral therapy to help you, your brain, without the medication, get you thinking right, start sorting out the issues, the smells, the sounds, the things that bother you. It's also very important to have family support. It's very important. I know because I've been there. My father has post-traumatic stress disorder. I am PTSD. I've grown up around it. I'm used to it. In conclusion, PTSD is a mental problem that occurs after a traumatic experience. Not only does it affect the person involved, but family members around. Divorce rates are higher, suicide rates are higher. It can affect the person as well as the family involved. Thank you.